Will you please welcome one of Banana's favorite comedians, Jeff Allen? Give it up.
Thor Ramsey, folks. Thor Ramsey. Yeah. All right. This is great. I got to tell you, I'm drinking the bottled water because I have no idea where Columbus gets their tap water from. I was showering. I got hit in the head with a carp. And if you're sitting here right now thinking, you know, a carp wouldn't fit through the faucet, you can probably get up and leave. You're not going to get the rest of this stuff anyway. So. There's always one or two of you, isn't there? Every family has one. It just doesn't get the joke. I got a kid like that, a 19-year-old. I love that boy. He works for Dell Computers. He's a bright kid, just does not get sarcasm. Whatever gene that is, that son of mine did not get it. We're watching Monty Python last year. Monty Python. And he looks at me and goes, "Flesh wound? His whole arm came off." All right. It's good to be here, boy, I'll tell you. Doesn't this remind you of these metal detectors? You ever been to Florida? Old people carry them. It just, something happens. You hit the age of 90, you got to go to the beach and find metal. Personally, I think it's a vitamin deficiency. I'll be back in an hour, Ed, and I'm going to go look for some zinc. That's why you can't sleep on a Florida beach. You nod off, a blue hair will pick the fillings right out of your mouth. You just... Hey, lady, what are you doing to me? Oh, talking clam. You know, the last clam to mumble was full of gold, Herbert. I was just in Florida last week. I was in Miami. By the way, I almost moved to Florida about 10, 12 years ago until I found out they have a fifth season there. They do. They have winter, summer, spring, fall, and then they have the fifth one. It's called hurricane. They have a season they call hurricane, and people still live there. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but, you know, maybe I'm just a frightened little wimp, but I was at a guy's house, and he starts putting masking tape on his window. I said, "What is that?" He goes, "Well, it keeps the window from shattering during the hurricane." Am I a moron? But I thought when the wind hit 180 miles an hour, you had Buicks flying past those windows. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm on a couch reading a book, I look up, see a LeSabre coming at me, I'm seeking shelter. Oh, relax, man. We got masking tape. Let's watch that car wedge itself into the window. Wow, it works. And they always send some weather guy down there to cover the hurricane. Why? I can go to Iowa and cover a hurricane in Florida. How hard is that? Ah! It's windy, it's raining. Back to you, Lou. What more information do you need to know? I was in Arizona recently. They have weathermen there. How hard is that job? It's hot. Back to you, Bob. To make it interesting, they have things like cloud warnings. Kids come running in off the street. Oh, that big white fluffy thing. Ah! To kill the time, weathermen put temperatures on maps. That's it. They got just maps of numbers. Have you seen them? Temperatures of places you're not even in. I got a temperature there, temperature there, temperature there, temperature there. Honestly, I got to tell you, there's only one temperature I've ever been interested in, and that's hell. Because if it ever freezes over, there are a lot of women in this country that owe me a dance. That's all I know. Dance! That's why my wife won't dance with me anymore. You're a dork, I can tell you. We've been married long enough. Be a good job to have, don't you think, weatherman? Where else could you be wrong on a job 90% of the time and still collect a check every week? This is my job now. This is actually what I do. For 28 years I've been doing this. And people ask, you know, what'd you do before you got into comedy? Don't want to brag, but I was a manager at a 7-Eleven. Did you hear me? Manager. And I was impressed. I'm telling you, I was cocky. I was 19 years old, fresh out of GED. You know, ready to take the world by storm. And got to work and found out I was the only guy there. I was in charge of a crew of one. But I had a uniform. Are you familiar with the 7-Eleven? This little smock they make you wear with a bunch of 7s and 11s on it? That's right. I was in charge of me. I had to fire myself after a month. I didn't like my attitude. And I caught myself stealing a few times. I denied it, but I saw myself. So I ended up getting in an argument with I hit myself in the head with a flashlight. I sued 7-Eleven, by the way. It was their manager that hit me in the head with a flashlight. I'm not a lawyer, but I felt it could have been a precedent-setting case. I worked the graveyard shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. They call it graveyard because people buying groceries at 3 a.m. are pretty much embalmed. They're leaving bars at 2 a.m. looking for food. And they come in like Night of the Living Dead. Hey, Smock Man, where you keeping the SpaghettiOs? Hey, there's only 3 aisles. Why don't you and your Mensa friends try to put that one together for yourself? I think it was my attitude that got me Employee of the Month. Because I would smile, and they'd walk over with a can of death, like SpaghettiOs, and start walking towards the microwave. And you would tell yourself, nobody could be that ignorant as to put a can into a microwave. After dealing with the public for 30 years, I have to tell you, the depths of ignorance in America never cease to amaze me. Not only did he put the can into the microwave and fire that baby up, they stared through the window. Sparks! And it's like smoking. You gotta know someone's 3 blocks away with a pacemaker. Man, they're cooking another can. I hate this neighborhood. And people steal. They shoplift. I don't care, it's not mine. But don't insult me. They put Twinkies in their pants and they'd walk around pretending to shop. Cellophane is not quiet. Have you heard it? They're like a walking bag of potato chips. So I'd call them over. Could you come here for a minute? What? Come here, man. What is it? What is that? What? This, here. Anyway. As Thor said, this is my second time back here, and I got to tell you a little bit about myself so that people know. My name is Jeff. That's my real name, and I grew up in Chicago. I now live in Nashville. I'm 50 years old. I just turned 50 years old. I have 2 boys, a 23-year-old and a 19-year-old. And a few more things, more personal. I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. And 12 years ago, I filed bankruptcy, financial bankruptcy. We lost everything. And 10 years ago, my wife informed me if things did not get any better in our lives, she was going to file for divorce. And I only tell you that because I draw all my comedy from my life experience. And that's pretty much my life. Alcoholism, bankruptcy, and divorce. So strap on your party hats, folks. Mr. Sunshine's here to cheer you up. Come on, Woody Allen said it. Comedy was tragedy plus time. What that means is if you had enough time to heal from the wounds in your life, you should find the humor in them. And I mentioned my drink. I had to quit drinking. 19 years ago, I had to quit drinking. My neighborhood got together and voted on it. Actually, I got a drunk driving. 25 years ago, I got a drunk driving when I wasn't even driving the car. That's when you know you got a problem. You get a ticket for something you weren't even doing. I was on the side of a freeway just trying to start my glove box. Just... Not exactly a menace to society at this point in the evening. No chance of my car firing up and me wreaking havoc on a suburban neighborhood. Just some loser on the side of the road. Come on! Not again, come on! Finally, a cop showed up. I was glad to see the guy. What seems to be the problem? Well, looks like a dead battery. Glad to see you two guys. Someone stole my gas pedal and my steering wheel. Oddly, that was when the officer decided to invite me out of the car, which I thought was pretty cordial of him to invite me. I also thought it was an option because he did ask. Would you mind getting out of the car? Oh, I'd rather not. I was kind of hoping you or your twin brother pick up some jumper cables and help me out here. So off to jail you go because that's the law. And then they give you a phone call. Does that not kill you? It's the law. Some things can wait till morning. So I couldn't remember anybody's phone number. So I just played Mary Had a Little Lamb on the phone. Beep, 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 beep. Well, you know, 26 numbers. I woke some guy up in Korea. And he was yelling at me. Oh, you drunk again, Jeff? You got big problem. Man. So I quit. Yeah, it was a while ago, boy. I'm 50 now. 50 years old. 5-0. Man, I am AARP. Whew. I was upset about it until I found out I get my waffles at Waffle House cheaper. That's right. I'm not used to. I threw my back out sleeping 2 weeks ago. I'm not lying to you. I went to bed, I was fine, woke up, couldn't walk. I asked my wife, were you giving me kidney punches or something? I can't move. Kills me. But I am going back to school. Thank you. 50 years old, I'm going back. Yeah. Traffic school, but got to start somewhere. Yeah, I bought a new car, and it's the first new car I've ever had in my life. I am not making it. I mean, '06, got a brand new car. It's amazing how much extra money you find in your house when you convince your children college is overrated. So, you don't want to go to school, remain ignorant. I got a ticket, and I got to tell you, to me, the police are getting lazier. That's all I'm going to tell you. I was speeding. I'm not going to fight the ticket, but a Porsche shot past me doing 100, at least 100. I was doing 80. Porsche. I see the lights in the mirror, and I'm laughing, like you would be laughing, because you know the Porsche's going to get a ticket. Imagine my surprise when I got pulled over. And I said to the policeman when he got there, I said, didn't you see that Porsche? Oh, yeah, we'll never catch that guy now, will we? And he actually said to me, I was after the Porsche, and then you showed up. And he said to me, what moron doesn't slow down for a cop? And I do speed. I know that. I'm impatient. I know it. I was dealing with it in therapy, but who can listen to that stuff and you gotta get out of it. Write it down. Let me go. Gotta go. And nothing ties traffic up more than a cop doing 55. Come on, we've all been there. You're driving along, all of a sudden you grind to a halt, you're wondering what is going on, and there's a policeman up there. And there's 200 cars behind the cop in perfect formation. And as soon as he gets off an exit ramp, it's like the Indy 500 out there. Oh, Daddy's gone. And every time I get caught speeding, I get a policeman that wants to chat with me. For whatever reason, they never let me off the ticket. I don't have a face that gets off tickets. Would you let this face go? So I just want the ticket. Just write it, let me go. Obviously, I was in a hurry. They catch you doing 95. At what point do they put it together? You were in a hurry. Could be why they haven't made detective yet. Just a thought. My favorite question, are you aware of how fast you were going? Yeah, pretty much. Got a speedometer right in front of me. Well, the only thing I was unaware of is where you were sitting. Because I'd have slowed this puppy right down. I would have, man. Boy, I got teens driving. I got to tell you something. My boy went to driver's ed. They wanted $150 for driver's ed. Do you believe that? When they start charging for driver's ed. Said to my wife, I'll teach that boy to drive. Came home an hour later, wrote a check out for $500. came in with a twitch. My wife goes, what happened? I don't know, but those people are grossly underpaid, I'll tell you that. They take their life in their hands like that with other people's children. What are you, nuts? I need a helmet, honey. Give me a helmet. I can't take it. I mean, I hit that imaginary brake so many times. And then in this move, you get that. Tell me you saw the truck, son. Just tell me you saw the truck. And he's sitting there going, that was close. Scary. Now he's got girlfriend, man, girlfriend. I gotta tell you, you haven't lived till you had an adolescent relationship running through your house. I read a book years ago. Somebody gave it to me. It was called Road Less Traveled. I don't know if anybody's read it, but Scott Peck wrote it. And what he said about relationships in the book was that true love cannot even begin until there's conflict within the relationship. And what he meant by that was if you're sitting on the couch with your boyfriend or girlfriend and she says one night, you know, I want Chinese food for dinner. And the guy says, well, I want pizza. Now there's conflict. Now there's a chance for this relationship to grow and move forward into true love. Everything up to that moment was an illusion put there by God to keep the species going. It was a lie. And every adolescent, they float through the house. You watch these kids. My kid is just floating one day. I go, what are you so happy about? It's our 9th day, 4th hour anniversary. I wanted to send her money. She got him bathing without our help, you know. Well, it happened. One day they were together long enough, the phone rings, it's his girlfriend. And I hand him the phone, and for 45 minutes, my son, my flesh and blood, is in the kitchen getting gutted like a trout. I don't know what she's saying, but he can't get a word in. But you won't let me talk. If I could just say, you won't. I didn't say that. She's lying to you. I didn't say that. You just, oh, that's a lie. I didn't say, oh. 45 minutes. Not that I was listening. Now I'm walking by, and our eyes meet, and I see my son, and he's tearing up, and he's in pain. And all I can think to say to him to comfort him as his father was, enjoy the ride, boy! Because you know a dad's got to have compassion. I think I ooze compassion. And those of you who have had teenagers under your roof know it's like living with bad roommates. There comes a point where they don't think for a minute they need you for anything. And then they just start taking without permission and asking. And I mention this because my son, I almost killed him. I almost did. My wife always said to me, how come them boys listen to you better than me? I said, because I know how to talk to young men. A month and a half ago, I told a 19-year-old, keep it up, I'll run you over with the truck. He started to laugh. Oh. I love grapes. I'm telling you, I love grapes. Did I mention I love grapes? Red grapes, I love them. I picked off 3 pounds of them. Put them in a colander myself. All 3 pounds in a colander, individual, loose. Washed them in the sink, so when I got them wet, when I put them in the fridge, the cold air would hit them and make them crisp. Orbs of juice. Sweet. I love them. So now I go out and hit golf balls in the summer in Tennessee, 95 degrees, 90% humidity, I'm sweating, and I'm thinking as I'm driving home I should get a Gatorade, but then I remember, no, I have grapes, orbs of juice. I'm salivating, pulling the driveway, and I'm coming up, and I go to the fridge, and I open it up, and it was, oh, they're gone! My orbs! Coming down the hall is my son with a colander, empty, and 1 grape in his hand. 1 grape left out of 3 pounds. And I said, stop! Put the grape down and back away from the colander. He looks at me and goes, what? Tell me you didn't eat 3 pounds of grapes. Is that a lot? Well, if I were you, boy, I'd get a couple of magazines and I wouldn't stray too far from the bathroom. And the laughter you hear coming out of the hallway will be mine. Maniacal. Laughter. Is that a lot? That's a kid that came to me one day and he said he needed some space. I needed some space. Gave him my father's answer when I told him I needed space. My dad opened the front door and said, a lot of space out there, boy. And I could tell by the look on his face, wasn't quite what he had in mind. I said, what's up? He goes, well, we got that room down in the basement. It's all full of junk and stuff. I said, what if we clean it up and we make me a bedroom down there? I'd like to be down. And I said, you know what? That's cool. As long as you understand what that room is about. It's part of my house. You understand that? It's your room, but it's my house. You understand? Great, I understand. Okay, we do the room. We get it all constructed up, and it looks nice and everything. Got a bathroom hooked up down there. I'm walking by a month later. I hear him on the phone. I am not making this up. My son says to his friend, finally got my own place. I ran to my wife. I said, that kid has no intention of ever leaving our home. He thinks he's got a condo down there. Told her, my wife, that's it. I'm freezing him out. That's it. I waited till December, and I sealed the vents in his room because I knew he'd never figure it out. Comes upstairs one day with an electric blanket and 200 feet of orange extension cord behind him. Hey, what's with the heat? I don't know. Talk to your homeowners association, condo boy. Drive you nuts. I have an older son. I got to tell you, my wife came to me when he was 16, and I'm sure some of you have had this conversation. My wife goes, I've had it. That's her 2 words. Had it. Kids would call me up when I was on the road. Mom says she's had it. What does that mean? Run, that's what that means. She's a lunatic. Run. Watch out for the kidney punches. So she calls me in the bedroom. She goes, I've had it. I said, about what? She goes, that boy. I went, because it wasn't me. I said, what about him? And she said, I'm tired of trying to shove an education down that boy's throat. I'm sick and tired of it. He goes to summer school every year. He won't study. He won't get good grades. It doesn't mean anything to him. I'm just tired of it. So I look at my wife and I ask her, I go, what kind of student were you? She said, I was awful. And I said, well, Lord knows I was awful. What makes you think you and I together would breed a good student? If there's anything to DNA, this kid's right on track. You heard his timing, tell a joke, he's impeccable. I said, what do you want me to do? She says, talk to him, find out what he's gonna do when he gets out of high school. I'm tired of this. So I sit him down and I tell him straight up. I want to tell you, son, this is a father-son discussion. Father-son discussion. Your mother wants to know what you're gonna do when you get out of high school. He says, I don't know. I said, that's a problem. We need to figure this out. So we sit down with a notebook, we figure all this stuff out, his likes, dislikes, we go down the whole list of things, and ROTC came up. And he likes ROTC. He's been in there for 3 years at the time, and he says, I kind of dig this. And I said, you go to those camps in the summer. He used to go to the military camps in the summer, rappel. And I said, you know what, maybe you should consider a military move when you get out of high school, give you 4 or 5 years or whatever it is to kind of figure out what you want to do, sort your life out. I said, I didn't even begin to pull my head out of my backside until I was 30, so maybe that's what you need. And he goes, that's cool. I go, you got friends? Anyway, so I go back and tell his mother. I said, he's going to join the Army when he gets out of high school. She says, what's he going to do when he gets in the Army? I go, when does it end? I said, I don't know. She goes, ask. So I go out and ask her, what are you going to do? He goes, I'm going to drive a tank. I said, cool. Go back and I tell his mother, he's going to drive a tank. Now, my wife goes right by me, doesn't say a word. Goes into the basement, comes upstairs with a pile of newspapers. Plops them in front of me. I go, what is that? She said, I want you and your new tank driving boy to go through the classifieds and show me one job for a tank driver. Go to the Army so you can learn a skill so when you get out you can feed a family. You don't go to drive a tank. I said, he's 16, he wants to blow things up. I'm 50, I want to blow things up. I grew up in America before the lawyers took over. If a kid wanted to maim himself, he could maim himself. Remember BB gun fights? Guys, remember that? 6, 7 guys in a neighborhood? Keys, they have a good gun. CO2, gas-powered pistol. Things go through concrete. What does my mother get me? A Daisy 1 pump. Thing wouldn't penetrate Cool Whip. I hit a sparrow in the head once. I didn't even wake the bird up. And my kids wanted BB guns. My dad calls me up one day in the middle, like they were like 12, 13 years old. He goes, hey, can I get them BB guns? I said, yeah, and pick them each up a set of glass eyes. What are you, nuts? And my kid goes, I won't shoot my brother. I go, man, if I got you a BB gun and you didn't shoot your brother, I'd have you in for a psychiatric evaluation. I shot my sister so many times, she told her husband her cellulite was BB wounds from me. And he believed her, so who's the moron in this conversation? My wife falls asleep at 9:15 every night, like clockwork. I'll look at her at 9:10, it's like a gas leak went off in the living room. And I'll say, will you go to bed? Oh, I'm fine. What are you, 5 years old? Go to bed. Shut up, I'm fine. That poor woman has seen the beginning of every Law and Order for the last 5 years. And she'll watch them in rerun now and go, oh, I've seen this one. Well, you might want to give it 20 minutes, sweetheart. She was always looking for things. Now that the kids are grown up and out of our lives, pretty much. She came to me a couple years ago. She goes, I think we should take up skiing this winter. I was 48 years old. She goes, I think I should take up skiing. Take up skiing. I told her, you could save me the cost of a lift ticket and just throw me out a 3rd floor window. I told her, you want to ski, we'll buy a Nordic track, just do it in the living room. Yeah, turn the air conditioning up real high. Get it nice and frosty, and every 4 or 5 minutes, she can run in and smack me in the head with a tree limb. What are you, nuts? I tried skiing 20 years ago when I was young and healthy, and I got knocked unconscious by the chairlift. What more sign from God do you need? And some of you look at me and think, well, you seem fairly coordinated. How could something that stupid happen? Let me explain. My first day, I was in my ready position as I had been taught. Notice the knees are slightly flexed, shoulders are square. I believe the face was lathered with anticipation. From behind me, somebody yelled, look out! Now, you know when you hear the words look out, you don't duck, you turn around and see what it is you're looking out for. Turned around just in time to get my skull caved in. What'd you say? Oh. And the insurance company wouldn't cover the head injury. Guy called me up at home. You got hit in the head with a chairlift? I go, yeah. Well, that makes you a moron. We consider that a pre-existing condition. They had me. It was a loophole. Four years ago, my wife signed us up for a health club. 4 years ago. We're still members because we signed up for 5 years because we saved $3 a month. I've been there once. I've been by it a dozen times. It's right on the way to Cinnabon. Who can, you know? I used to tell the kids, you know, we're members there. I go in for an orientation program. My orientator, Todd, comes out. Todd. Hi, Jeff. I'm 2% body fat Todd. Oh, hey, 2%, I'm 80% mushy Jeff. And he goes, Nautilus did that. Oh, yeah? Well, Haagen-Dazs is doing this. Loaded with questions. First question he asked me, how long has it been since I had an exercise program? Well, let me ponder that one, Tado. I'm 50. That would make it 50 years, 9 months. That's right. My mom said I was so lazy they had to induce labor to get me moving. So this guy looks at me and says, oh, you might want to start out a little slow. So I'm sleeping with ankle weights on right now. You never know. You could roll over and burn a calorie or two. I'm thinking of buying wrist weights to eat the Haagen-Dazs with, but don't want to overdo it. Come on. Everybody in this room would exercise if the weight we gained was in a more uncomfortable place on our bodies. Where do we gain weight? Stomach and our behind. It's not in our way, is it? A couple pounds on your forehead would get you to a gym, wouldn't it? Say, man, I can't see nothing. People would be chuckling at you. Hey, Skullmaster, want another donut? I don't understand this country's obsession with weight. Weight is nothing but a number. That's it. It's just a number. And everybody in this building has a number. When they stand on a scale, they want to see it. It makes them feel good about themselves. The key is to stand on the scale and see the number. That's why I bought a digital scale. Those numbers gradually build up to your correct weight. You can jump off any time. We lie to ourselves all the time. Why stand there and torture yourself? 155, that's all I'm weighing this month. You know, honey, I don't look it, but I think I lost 45 pounds last night. And my wife's dieting, and when she diets, it's actually kind of funny. I mean, again, human beings, I love human beings. I'm one. I am one. But she's been on a diet, getting ready for the holidays. She always likes to go on a diet before the holidays so she can eat what she wants and not really, she tries to balance it out. So, and one night she comes to bed, and I'm not making this up, she's got crumbs, chocolate crumbs on the corner of her mouth. And she's in a diet, and I don't care. I really don't, but it's just funny to me. I go, how's that diet coming along? Oh, it's awful, Jeff. I'm telling you, I'm torturing myself. And as she's talking, I'm getting shelled with crumb fragments. Chocolate flying everywhere, you know. Like I'm gonna get up in the morning and notice there are 3 Ho-Hos missing out of the package. And go, honey, somebody stole 3 Ho-Hos last night. That's the 3rd time this week. I'm gonna call the neighbors, find out if they got a Ho-Ho bandit. One year she came home with rice cakes. This was her idea of dessert. Rice cakes. Have you eaten these things? Cake? I think not. I think caulk would be a better word. It's not food, it's insulation. Told her we could save a few bucks, just eat the styrofoam peanuts that came with your Thigh Master. Oh, come on, they're awful. Our dog ate 9 of them, went in the yard and passed the thermos. And the dog could use a diet. Our dog is so fat, can't bark anymore. Just wheezes when the doorbell rings. He's 12 years old. He's not a dog. He's a throw rug. If he didn't break wind, we wouldn't know he was alive half the time. And he's so fat, his stomach drags on the floor. One day he ran across the rug. He set himself on fire. That was bad. Man, you got to slow down. Just stay. I'll move the Twinkie crumb to you. It's my wife's dog. She has all the pets. She's got a cat. What? Bought a cat, my wife did. Bought a cat. Bought a cat. Yeah, Lord knows you can't get a free cat anywhere in North America. We live in Tennessee. They're flying out of pickup trucks all over the state. And if she waltzes in with a litter box, I go, well, that's just what the home needed. More poop. And that dog in the diapers, you know, the house doesn't smell bad enough. Why don't we get a pet cow? He'll just crash on the couch. My house smells so bad, my friends won't step foot in there anymore. Come on in, Mike. Nah, what do you got living in there, a yak? Come on. Dogs have whizzed on the carpet so much. You know, if we ever shampooed it, we'd have to have hazmat in there. The pending ammonia leak. And she knows I hate the cat, right? The litter box. So she brings home an article. You can buy a kit that you put on your toilet. You can get your cat to use your toilet. You can potty train a cat. Why? How festive is that going to be at 3 a.m.? All right, who's in the bathroom? All right, how do you lock the door? Cat comes out dragging a Field and Stream behind him. Come on, man. Me and this cat do not get along at all. I don't know why, but he runs up my chest at 5 o'clock in the morning, gets an inch from my face, and breathes that tuna breath all over me with the motor that... Apparently, he's just waking me up so he can spin around and show me his tail. You know, sweetheart, I don't know why I'm having so much trouble bonding with the cat. Perhaps you should let him brush his backside up against your nostril. That'll give you a little perspective. I'm telling you, the cat's trying to kill me. There are mornings he'll put both paws into my windpipe. Put both paws right in there, man. And start going back and forth. Back. And I know what he's thinking. If I had thumbs, you'd be a dead man. Oh, I wish I had thumbs. And I know she only got the cat to just mess with me. Trust me, she's a sick, warped woman. It's no coincidence we've lived in 4 different houses in our marriage in 20 years. 4 different houses, and it's no coincidence my side of the bed always faced the kids' room. I was always the closest to the kids' room. So when one of them woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I got the wake-up call. And you've never lived a full life until you've woken up to a 2-year-old with the vomit dance. That'll get you up. I don't care how tired you are, man. Running down the hall, you hold them out in front. Come on, man, hang on. Hang on. They turn around, Dad, he's face the front. And they never make it to the toilet. They see porcelain, blah, oh, we almost made it. And I hear my wife in the bedroom. That's her idea of funny. Sick. There's another idea she thinks is funny. Well, when the kids were little, real little, she came to me one night, she closes the door behind us, and she puts her arms around me and kisses my neck and tells me, "You get those boys to bed, I am all yours." Tell you how stupid I was. I thought I could do it, man. Ever try getting 2 little kids down to bed at the same time? It's like herding crickets or something. You just, get down, lay down, man, get to bed. And you start reading a story, and then, of course, they know every word in the book. You're going, you skipped something. I did not skip it. Just go to bed. Wait, water. Get water. I got to go to the bathroom. If you wouldn't drink water, you wouldn't need to go to the bathroom. 20 minutes, all I heard coming out of that bedroom of mine was a sick, maniacal laugh. She's on the phone with her friends. He's trying. She's sick. And this is her idea of funny. A couple months ago, I'm not making this up, I'm in my chair. Every man in this room has a chair. Sitting in my chair. She comes up behind me, starts giving me a rub and a wrecking my rub and rubbing my head like that. She's got her arm around me and she's kissing my neck. And she says, "I love you, Jeffrey." And I said, "I love you too, babe." And she walks away, and it was one of those warm, fuzzy moments. I was fuzzy, folks. 10 minutes later, my boy walks in. "Hey, Dad, who drew the smiley face on your bald spot?" Permanent marker yet. She's sick and she's warped. Don't feel sorry for her. I love her dearly. She started menopause about 5 years ago. Menopause. There are nights now that I lie in bed and dream about the good old days of PMS. I cannot get our home cold enough for my wife. She spends half the week on the phone with the air conditioning guy. "It's broken again, it's broken." It's not broken. There's not enough freon in the world for the woman. If there is a hole in the ozone, it's over the roof of my home in Tennessee. 48 degrees in my bedroom. I got meat hanging off the curtain rods, for God's sake. And she'll walk in at 10 o'clock and turn on that 64-bladed fan she installed. I had to bolt the furniture to the floor to keep it from getting sucked through the roof. Staying in the middle of the room, it's hot, it's hot. And then she wakes me up to feel her night sweats. Is that necessary? I'm sound asleep, man, sound asleep. So come over, zip my parka open. Just zip the parka. Feel this, it's disgusting. Look at me, I'm just laying here. There's like a furnace in me or something. Oh, boy, you're lucky you don't have to go through this. You know, I wouldn't if you quit waking me up. I could sleep right through your perspiration. I told the kids, watch out now, Mom's going through some stuff. They said, like what? Those nights you don't do your homework, she get mad and yell at you? I said, yeah, be a little different now. She might start crying and then stab you. All I was saying, you see your mother sweating, hide all the sharp pencils. That's all I was saying. You guys have been absolutely wonderful and delightful. And as always, I have a love time. I married an Ohio girl, and we've up in Hudson, Ohio. If you're not familiar with Hudson, they lob Fabergé eggs at Halloween. And so Daddykins was thrilled to death she was marrying a comedian. I got a couple things I'd like to share with you. I finished a book since I had been here, published by Broadman Holman. And I got to tell you, doing a book is, I'm a borderline illiterate from the south side of Chicago, so what a country we live in. I'm at a party one night, guy goes, hey, you got any of that stuff written down? I go, sure, because that's the first rule of entertainment, lie. You ride a horse? Oh, since I was this big. And then you go out and take horse lessons, you know. So I go, yeah, I got it all written out. So I sent a couple chapters, they read them, they liked them, they gave me some advance money, and about a month after that, I called a friend of mine, Martha Bolton, who's an author, and I said, I need some help. I've just spent the advance money, and I haven't written a word. So I think I'm in trouble. And I said, do you know where periods and commas go? Because I got that spell check on Word. Have you ever done, you hit that spell check, and it was like a Christmas tree. It's just red and green squiggly lines all over there. I called everybody in. Come here, look it, your dad's a moron. So she said she knew where periods and commas went, and I would send her a bunch of words, and then I would put a bunch of periods and commas at the bottom of the page, and with a note that said, if you could put those where those belong, that would really help me out. And whatever you got left over, just leave them at the bottom of the page. So it worked out, and we wrote this book. It's just funny stories and stuff. And the reason I mention it was because I had to do media for this. And I do two kinds of media. I do secular media, and I also do Christian media, and the publicist would send us out. And one of the funny stories of this, I got them crossed up. I didn't know radio. I was doing secular radio out of Seattle, of all places, you know. Not exactly a conservative Christian radio station. And I mentioned Galatians, the Bible, and I was talking about the verses 5:20 and the fruits of the Spirit and all of this. And these guys are on the radio. I'm on a phone in Tennessee doing it, and they're going, galoshes? Who wears galoshes in the Bible? And I'm telling you, talk about a paradigm shift in your brain. I'm going, these guys, wait a minute, this is a Christian radio, and they're mocking this is, wow. Is this progressive? I'm not sure. Galoshes. And then anyway, I got through it, and I called the publicist. I go, that wouldn't have, by any chance, have been a secular radio. He goes, oh, yeah. So when I went in and did the show in Seattle, I asked the church that I was at, I go, by the way, anybody hear the radio show? And a bunch of people went, yeah. And I go, how long did they make fun of me after I hung up? And somebody stood up and went, not too long, 20 minutes maybe, you know. So I go, okay, great. But it was interesting to me how the two different medias took the same information. We would send the same bio off. So the secular side was always interested in how a comic goes from working casinos and you know, from Atlantic City and Las Vegas casinos and comedy clubs like this. I did these for like 20 years. And how you go from that to working outreach shows in churches as a born-again Christian. And the Christian side, all they wanted to know was about the marriage. How'd you and your wife keep it together? How did you do all this stuff? And to me, it's just two, again, same information, two different interests in the information. And to answer the first question, how does an atheist from the south side of Chicago go from working casinos to being a born-again Christian and living in Nashville? It's pretty simple. I crawled into an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting 19 years ago, and I just wanted to stop drinking. That was it. That was my goal. And they told me to pray, and I said, to what? And they said, find something in this universe that's larger than you. And I got to tell you, the only thing that exceeded my arrogance was my ignorance. I could not get my head around anything larger than me. My wife will tell you, I mean, the whole world revolved around me. Alcoholism is a self-centered sickness, and it really is. And I wasn't getting on my knees for anybody or anything. And I got to tell you, God has a way of breaking us, and he really does. C.S. Lewis said that suffering was God's megaphone, and he turned the megaphone up. The first thing to go was the desire to perform. I had no desire to stand on stage and perform anymore. I used to sit in a stool, stare at the floor, and I would do my little skits. And I got to tell you, my agents would call me up and go, man, I'm telling you, I'm getting a lot of heat from these club owners. They're just, you've lost it. What is going on with you? And I go, I don't care. I don't know. I don't care. And I don't know if anybody here knows what it's like to wake up every day of your life with that overriding question, what's the point? Why am I here? What's the point? And that's when it started with me. I quit drinking, and all of a sudden, I want to know the meaning of life. And you got to understand this, folks. I am an ignoramus from the south side of Chicago. I am not kidding you. I've never read a book in my life till I was 31 years old, and all of a sudden, I'm waking up in the morning, and I want to know the meaning of life. My father never sat me down and said to me, boy, there's going to come a time in your life where you're going to want to know what this is all about. All I wanted to do was have a few beers and go out and party and live my life and be left alone. That was basically it. And all of a sudden, I'm waking up every day of my life, and I want to know what the point is, and there was no answer for me. So I go to a therapist, and I ask her, what's the point? What is this about? And we start talking, and she gives me Road Less Traveled. So I read Road Less Traveled, and I think maybe there's something here for me. Maybe I'll read. And then being an obsessive, compulsive person, and believe me, when you quit drinking, you got lots of spare time. You can only bowl so many frames. So I bought books. I started with John Bradshaw's series on family dynamics, and then I went to Melody Beatty's Codependency No More books. And I just wanted to know, folks, that's all it was. It was just there had to be an answer somewhere. And I started reading philosophy, and I started reading Plato, but God forbid, has anybody finished Republic? I mean, really. So I started reading the people that read Plato, and I figured, I started reading the people that read Kant, and I started reading the people that read Hume, and I started reading the people. I just wanted to know. That's all. And in the meantime, God took my career, shattered it, took my marriage, and I'm telling you, if you're in a marriage today that's full of acrimony, wait till you get to apathy. I'm telling you, there's no more painful human experience than apathy. To wake up in the morning and not care about nothing. Not your wife, not your kids, not your career. Nothing of this earth mattered except that question. That's all I wanted to know. And I read as much as I could shove in. And at one point, my therapist told me, she says, you got to quit reading. You are overloading on information. And I go, but I don't understand this. I don't understand this. And she said, just slow down a little bit. Let's try to sort some stuff out. And I got to tell you, God puts people in our lives. We are his instrument. I believe this with all of my heart and soul. And people came into my life. And some people would give me things. And at the time, I was reading Ayn Rand. I don't know if you're familiar with Ayn Rand, but it's a humanistic, egocentric philosophy where capitalism is the highest ideal that a human can strive for. And at that time, I had just filed bankruptcy. So I wasn't doing too well in the capitalism department. And I actually believe this. If I could give my wife more things, she would be happier than she was. And I got to tell you, there's nothing more saddening or disheartening for a man to look at his wife across the table and know that she wants something from you and you have nothing to give her. And I got angry. That's what I did. I got angry. And it was a legitimate request. I'm telling every man in this room, when your wife looks at you with something in her eyes that she wants from you, it's a legitimate request. You signed on for something. But I didn't have anything to give her except apathy and anger, and I didn't want to be around her. So one day she asked for a divorce. That's what she said. She said, would you like a divorce? That's what she said to me. We're sitting in a parking lot somewhere at Toys R Us, and she goes, would you like a divorce? And I said, if that's what you want, babe. Understand this. Our culture tells us that marriage is irrelevant. Our culture tells us, don't worry about it. The kids will get over it. Divorce is nothing. It's just simple. Piece of paper, cut the paper. Divorce is the most life-altering decision a man and woman will ever make. It will change your children's lives forever. Good, bad, or indifferent, you can argue about it 30 years later. But at that moment, it will change their lives forever. And my wife and I are sitting in a parking lot, two dead, soulless human beings, and she says very calmly and very quietly, "Would you like a divorce?" And I answer her like, "Take out the trash." I said, "If that's what you want, babe." Backed the car out, we drove home, and that's why we decided to get a divorce. Not screaming, Jags. We were done fighting. We were two strangers living under the same roof for months. Couldn't even make eye contact. The pain was so bad. So I go out. We had nothing to divide up. We got all lost in a bankruptcy. So we go to a paralegal, and I get these divorce papers, and I love it. The Bible says, what Satan intends for evil, God will use for good. I have a huge character flaw to this day. It's called procrastination. It's my job to fill out the divorce papers. Talk about a gas leak going off. I saw all those words and all those things you had to fill. I can't even fill out a checkbook. I'm like, oh, man. Fell asleep at the table. They went in a junk drawer right there. I just put them in a junk drawer, and we lived. I moved into the guest room. That's what I did. We made a decision. I didn't have any money to move anywhere else. So I said, I'll stay in the guest room. I'll stay on the road as much as I can. Called my agents up. I said, keep me on the road. And they did, pretty much. And that's how Tammy and I lived for 8 or 9 months, or whatever it was. And then one day, as God would have it, moved a woman into her life. She was a battered woman. She shows up at a dog show. My wife shows dogs with a black eye. And she's got the sunglasses on, and my wife says to her, because she's compassionate, she goes, "What happened?" And she makes up some story, and she goes, "That's a lie. You are not going back home to that man. You're coming home with me." And then she gets home, and I said, "Oh, where's she come from?" And then Tammy says, "Well," I said, "Where's she going to stay?" And Tammy says, "In the guest room." I said, "Where am I going to stay?" You know, she goes, "Well, you can move back in the bedroom until we figure something out." So I moved back into the bedroom. And this is God's timing, not ours. And we started talking. That's all we did. We just started talking. And things would come up, and we would talk about hurts and slights and things, and very cordial. Very cordial. And there was an evening I noticed she had her back to me. And I walked across the room, and I wanted to turn her around. I realized that she always had her back to me when I talked to her. And I tried to turn around. She stopped, and she says, "I can't." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I can't look at you." I said, "What do you mean?" And she says, "Jeff, just please fill out those, let's just get this done. Let's cut it." So I go out and get the papers, we fill them out, we get them notarized. A couple weeks go by, we're driving to the courthouse. 10 minutes. 10 minutes from filing those papers, folks. That was 12 years ago. 10 minutes. This woman says to me, "Pull the car over." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I don't know why. We know why now. We believe God speaks to us, whether we want him to or not, that tiny little voice that's in all of us, which no one has ever been able to explain to me. My conscience. Where does my conscience come from?" And I've read them all, folks. I've read every book I could get, from the skeptics all the way down to the devout atheists like Richard Dawkins. I've read them all. And they cannot explain to me that voice of conscience that every little child has on a playground and every adult has. Says to her, "This is a mistake." And she says to me, "Pull over." We go home, we try, and we tried. And in the meantime, God puts a man in my life. And I got to tell you this, we're on a golf course, a multimillionaire businessman. And I didn't know it at the time, but he says, we're on a golf course, and I'm asking him about money. I'm in this Ayn Rand phase, and I'm asking him about how do you make money? How do you accumulate wealth? And he says something, and I go, "Wow, that's brilliant. Where'd you hear that?" He goes, "It's in the Bible." I said, "All right, whatever." You know, we're driving along, a couple holes go by, and I said, "Where'd you hear that?" And he goes, "It's in the Bible." And I go, "Come on, Phil, who reads the Bible?" He said, "I read it every day." I go, "You're kidding me, right?" And he goes, what do you mean? What's your problem?" And I said, "Come on, God, let alone God's word? Are you kidding me? You talk about archaic." He says, "What's in the Bible that you don't think is true?" I said, "I don't know. I never read it. I'm an atheist." And he goes, "No, you're not an atheist. You're a moron." I said, "I don't understand that." And he said, "Well, let me give you the short answer. If you're going to be an atheist, Jeff, a true atheist has to have infinite knowledge of an infinite universe. In order to deny the existence of an omniscient being, you yourself have to be omniscient." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Bertrand Russell learned that in a debate with Frederick Cobblestone, a Jesuit priest. He came out of that debate an agnostic, and he said, why don't you be an agnostic? And I said, what is that? He goes, you know this. You don't know. I said, run that by me again. He said, you know you don't know. Why don't you allow for this much in this vast universe that you don't know? You don't even know what's on the other side of the sun. I said, of course I do. It's a 3-pronged plug. And I told him, you don't know either. And he said, I believe that if you allow that crack, that God could work his way through that crack and reveal himself to you in a profound way. I believe that, and I'll sign you up for these Bible study tapes. And he sent me these tapes, and he sent me a Bible, and of course I didn't open them up. I didn't care. It was a year and a half went by. I had accumulated all these tapes and all these things, and my marriage falls apart, and Tammy's going to go back to Ohio. That's what she says. I'm going to Ohio. I said, we don't have any money for you to go back to Ohio. She says, you're not invited. My father's paying for the trip. I couldn't believe it. She didn't invite Mr. Sunshine on the trip. And before she left, she gathered up these tapes, threw them on the floor, and said, you either listen to these things or I'm throwing them out. I said, all right, I'll listen to it. I don't care, whatever. She leaves, and I believe this with all of my heart, that when she walked out that door, I wasn't going to be married at the end of the summer, and I couldn't think of one thing to say to her, not one thing, to justify her staying with me. I knew she'd get around her family, and they would talk to her, chirp in her ear, tell her to drop the loser. You've given him 10 years. Let him go. And as she's walking out that door, I can't think of one thing to say, come on, give me another chance. Let me go. I've had 1,000 chances. She walks out the door. A couple days go by, and I'm walking by those tapes, and that voice goes, open one up. I start to walk over. Another voice says, there's nothing in there for you. I start to walk away. Another voice says, open one up. I start to walk back. There's nothing in there for you. Where does this struggle come from? I have opened tapes up my entire life. Never had a problem. Go to Sam Goody's and open them up. Just throw them right in the cassette player. I'm standing there looking at this pile of manila, and this struggle is going on. And at some point, a voice screams at me and says, it's biblical trash. It's just biblical trash. There's nothing in there for you. And I grab one, and I open it up, and I dump them on the floor, and I look at it. It was Ecclesiastes. Couldn't even pronounce it. Ecclesiastes. What is this? Got to get the Bible. That was in the junk drawer next to the divorce papers. And anybody who's got a junk drawer knows once something goes in, it never comes out. Until you get a shed, which is the suburban version of a junk drawer. So I put the tape in, and I got to tell you, there's a moment, and every believer in God, every believer in Christ has a moment, and this is my moment, when that pastor threw that tape from Denton, Texas, said meaningless. The beginning of Ecclesiastes is meaningless. It's meaningless. It's vanities, depending on the version you have, and all smoke from the message. But that resonated. Meaningless. What's meaningless? And life. That's it. This is in the Bible. And in 45 minutes, I got my life. It's Solomon. 78-year-old man wrote the book of Ecclesiastes at the end of his life, and he's found out that God, with life without God, has no meaning. Without meaning, there is no purpose. Without purpose, suicide is your answer. And I went, wow, that's in the Bible? Wow. Get that again, folks. Without God, no meaning. Without meaning, no purpose. Without purpose, suicide is your answer. That resonated with me. And I remember sharing this years later at a church, and somebody came up to me and go, I can't believe God used Ecclesiastes to lead you to his son. And I go, what do you mean? They go, such a cynical book. I go, well, you didn't know me like he knew me. I'm telling you, I was like, wow. So I ripped open every envelope looking for Ecclesiastes tapes. I couldn't get it. And I pumped them in, and there was a point I wanted to run on the lawn and hold the Bible up. And have you read this thing? My God, what a book. Wow. I was doing Bible study in the car, and I almost met Jesus before I met Jesus. It was just, swerving out of the way. Sorry, got in your way there, man, It exhilarated me, and I believed that in my heart, that this was the moment God said to me, you've had enough. You've had enough. And in 3 months, I listened to a year and a half's worth of Bible study tapes. I got to know God's Word, and I won't go into that right now, but I got to tell you, I was in Dallas, Texas with my buddy who sent me those tapes, and a year and a half had gone by, and he said to me, when I met you, you were looking for something. Have you found it? And all I could think to say was, if Jesus Christ is not who he said he was, because he made some audacious claims. He made those claims. I am the truth, the way, the life. No one gets to the Father except through me. He made the Son of God claims. He went to the cross. If he did not rise from the dead, if Jesus did not rise from the dead, then Christianity is nothing more than another man-made feel-good organization like the Kiwanis clubs. And I'm sorry, I like the Kiwanis clubs, but they don't change people's hearts. And I need a change of heart. And my man looked at me and he said to me, he goes, can you accept Christ as your Savior? And I said, I don't know, what is that? And he goes, can you admit you're a sinner? I go, well, let me think about that for a while. That was the easy part. Accepted Christ as my Savior 10 years ago, and I got to tell you, the peace is the gift. It's the gift. That's what it is. It's the peace, it's the gift. My marriage is still together, and I got to tell you, you guys have been absolutely the best crowd. All right. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you.